Everybody. I was going to take a few minutes today and talk to you about preparing your images for print. There's a lot of misconceptions out there on what will print and what won't print. The first thing is your web images are not going to print well. And the reason that is because most of the stuff that we find on the web are reduced in size. And so the number of pixels in the image are fewer than what you might have originally uploaded. So this is an important concept to understand, is just because it looks great on your screen does not mean that it will enlarge for printing. And I'm going to bring up Photoshop here in a minute so that you can see an image and what happens to it when we enlarge it. And basically what you want to think about is that when you zoom in on the image and you get it to about the size that you want to print it, and I mean, in other words, you might only see a part of the image on your screen, depending on the size of your screen. It may pixelate. The little pixels in it just get larger when you enlarge it. And so it's like putting a magnifying glass onto your image when you enlarge. So it's important to, and you can calculate this. And so what we need for printing is 300 pixels per inch. And sometimes that's called dots per inch, and I don't want to confuse you. So we're just going to stick with pixels per inch. So for every inch of image that you want to print, you have to have 300 pixels. So a 10-inch piece that you want to print is going to be 3,000 pixels across. Okay, so when you pull up that image that you pulled up on the website, or on, a lot of them, a large image online is considered about 1,200 pixels. So when you divide 1,200 by 300, you get 4 inches. So that's a really, 4 inches. You might be able to get it, it's iffy to bring it up to 8 inches. Now I do have software here locally that I use called Perfect Resize, and it does a pretty good job, but the image has already got to be pretty good size to get even larger. Now if you're taking pictures of your artwork with your cell phone, it's already pretty good size image. So I have pretty good luck, but it's if you fill it up. Fill the image, fill up the page, fill up the viewfinder with your image. That's important, because I can do pretty good size prints, but of course they get softer and less resolution as they get enlarged. Once the data's gone, the data's gone. There isn't any magic, and I think the misconception comes a lot from those police shows or detective shows where they're sitting there in front of the computer and they go, enlarge that, enlarge and enhance, and they zoom and zoom. That's just the magic of television. The data isn't there on most cameras that are doing filming of the world. There's way too much data. So the magic that they use is they take a picture with a large camera and then they edit it in over the top of the screen. So yeah, they're being a little deceptive on what's possible. And what's amazing too, and the other thing I think that people, you have a TV that's 60 inches on your wall, and you can bring up an image that's just this big, a little 4-inch image, and it can fill up the space because it's 1,200 pixels wide. I'm sorry, 1,200 pixels wide. And voila, it looks great on the screen on your TV. But there's some kind of magic wizardry going on there, the same as they do on TV. Not the exact same wizardry. Your screens are all, like this one here, I think is 1920 pixels wide. So, which is a pretty high resolution. Let's see, that might get you, 1900 get you around, doing ass of math is terrible. 1800 pixels be 9 inches. Is that right? 6 inches. 6 inches. 6, 7, 8 inches is all you're really actually seeing on the screen. And if you think about it, it's because the amount of data it takes to stream through all of the wires and all of the Wi-Fi, the amount of data it takes to, like stream your television and, put images up on your screen, that's a tremendous amount of data. And we'd be sitting around and being frustrated with lag on all those social media and even browsing the web, trying to find that image. If you've ever tried to download an image that's, pretty good size, big enough to print, it does take a few seconds. And can you imagine waiting that few seconds every time you saw a new image on a film? So they're doing amazing things, but none of that is good for print. That's my whole point. So I have an image here that my friend Jennifer has made, and she made it on her iPad. And she wants to print this up as 18 by 24. And I have it ready to show you. Let's see. Let me put my desktop on so you can see. And I'm going to do my best. I can't see the chat when I'm here, so I will pop up and check it every so often to see if anybody's chatting with me. So here's Jennifer's image. And let me double check. Yeah, I'm checking my audio, making sure that I'm famous for that. Okay, so here's Jennifer's image, and as you can see, I'll pull up the information on it. It is 9 inches by 12 inches at 150 pixels per inch. Now she did this on her iPad, and one of the things about doing it on an iPad is that you only get so many layers. There's restrictions on the image when you do this in Procreate on how many layers that you can do depending on the size. And this is actually a really good size. She wants this printed at 18 by 24. Okay, but she only has it at 150 pixels. And I had just told you I needed 300 pixels, right? And she tried to resize this in Photoshop, and we'll do that here in a second. And it didn't turn out too good. I mean, it was okay. But your expectations shouldn't be high. For some reason, even with this new AI thing that Photoshop has, they aren't, it isn't great. Perfect resize, that on the other hand is a different story altogether. But, and I'll show you that here in a second. So here is her image at 150 pixels per inch, and down here in the corner I've got it at 33%. And if I enlarge it just a little bit more, there we go. I got that now. It's on my screen at about, I mean, it obviously says 9 inches across the top here, across the top, but this here and this here visually on my screen is about an inch. Okay, so here's what her piece looks like, and it's a soft piece, but there's some places in there that have some sharpness. So let's just enlarge this. So in Photoshop, they've got this new thing. It's Preserve Details 2.0, and it's touted as being okay. So this just went from I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. It's touted as being great. So now let's take a look at this piece. So we're going to pick down here. See, it's pretty soft. Her texture is showing up there just a little bit. So I'm just going to say okay. And we're going to wait for a second for it to enlarge. So here's her image. And let me bring it down a little bit so that it's about the same on my screen. It's this here, from 7 to 8 here, it looks visually on my screen like it's an inch. Okay, so it's got some softness in it. We've lost some things. Now, I'm going to save this as, not a PDF. Let's do a JPEG. And I'm going to call this Photoshop. If I can type, it's great. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to open that other image up again, the original image. Actually, here, what I'm going to do is go to my history. This will be faster. And just go back to open. So we got the little one, and then I'll open up the other one. Photoshop enlargement. There we go. Is it going to let me do that? Oh, it did. Oh, it's because it's still open. Okay, file, save as. Okay, there we go. Redo it. There, now it'll let me bring this other one up because it's not the same image. Okay, so here's the enlargement. Now we're going to come back here to that original image, and we're going to resize it in my perfect resize. Give it a second, and I'm going to pop over here. If anybody has any questions, I'll pop in over here to look. Hello, everybody who's watching. All right. Oh, I poked that open too. All right, so we're here in the On1 Photo Raw. I think they're even having a sale right now. Give it a chance to pull up. So I'm going to reset all. Make sure that it's document size. So here it is. It's 9 by 12 at 150. So we're going to go 18 by 24 and 300 on this one. And I'm not going to use any sharpening or anything else. And then I'm going to say done. And it'll take it back over to my Photoshop. Here we go. We're waiting for it to do its thing. There we go. You can see already that that's much sharper. You can see the texture in there. So let's bring it down to this corner. And window range all vertically. So we have, oops, got this at 33.33% over here. So that looks about like an inch. And this one I want it at 33.33% too. So it's the same size. So get that corner, get this one, get that at that corner too, so we're looking apples to apples. So there you go. Now there is some stark differences between these two. So, or there are differences. They actually do pretty well enlarging it at that size. You want to get any larger than the now I forgot what the percentage was that it said that we were enlarging. But I think it's at least 200%. Well, it's 200% in size and 200% in, so it's about 400%. So it's important. Photoshop does do better on the smaller images, smaller enlargements. So, but we maintained a good color and all of that. So let's look at some other. Look at that. Let's look at this other side. And I tell you what, it printed out beautifully. Yeah, see, we've got this is a little softer right in here. This is the Photoshop enlargement. And here I didn't do any sharpening, and it read that better. And the difference between the two are Perfect Resize does what they call a fractal enlargement. And so the way I understand it, they take the pixels and then they let me come back on here so you can see me. So they take the pixels, they cut the pixels in pieces and then enlarge them. And then they, depending on how much, that's why it took some time to calculate. And so it's a little truer to the image that you had before. So that is what the process I just showed is what I did to, what I do to an image that comes in. Now I think I want to show you what happens with a smaller piece. And let me see if I can find, give me a second here. Sorry, I don't want to change the name of that. There's Fairy Tales. I'm going to find one of my own images. I don't want to step on anybody's copyright. So let's see. And I gotta find my 1200. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, I'm gonna bring this one up. I'll put you back on my desktop here so you can see it. All right. It's okay. So I've got. Now I'm going to go ahead and close both of these for Jennifer's. Okay. Now, oh, that wasn't a 1200. This is a bigger piece. I'm going to find a piece that's, there it is. I bet you that's it. Yep. Okay, while I have this up here, I want you to see the difference between, this is the image I just brought up. So it's got 16,900, almost 17,000 kilobytes. And this social credit here, number 1, is 1,300 kilobytes. And that makes a huge difference that's the amount of data that's in the piece. Okay, so if you look, let me bring this up just a smidge. Whoops. All right, well, let's just do both fitting. Fit on screen. Fit on screen. Okay, so this one with the 1 is a smaller one. Look, it looks fine. We'll pull over and look at the other one. And well, you couldn't even tell that I switched. There's a little bit of a jog there. So let's do a range all vertically. Okay, see, they actually look like they're about the same. Okay, this one here is dozens of times smaller. And so I'm over here on the smaller one, and it is 4 inches by 2.673 inches at 300 dpi. So really, if I want to get it nice and sharp and look like what it looks like on the screen, I'm going to need to enlarge it, or only print it at 4 inches. Whereas this one, and also note the scales here at the top. Look at that. That's 1 inch compared to 1 inch over here. See how deceptive that is? So if I come over here, how big is it? It is 12 by 18 inches. And I believe that I made that, and there's, it's got some detail here. See the canvas? Okay, that was lost over here. Oops. Fit. All right. See, even at full size, you cannot see the canvas. There's all that detail's gone, but on the screen they look the same. Oops, I did it again. There we go. There, got to hit the right buttons. See how deceptive that is in comparison. This is the difference between a web image that looks great on the screen and a printable image that looks great on the screen. And it's all in the number of pixels. See, this is 112.83%, and down here this one is 23 point, okay, almost 24%. That's the difference. And so if I try to print this at that size, you know, the smaller one at that size, we're going to lose all sorts of things because it's not there. Let's zoom in here. The information is not there. So there we go. We get right up here. Get that cue. You see? It's just not there. And if we go, okay, so if we go to File, and we could do the perfect, I'm trying to decide if I do the perfect resize. Let's just do it in Photoshop. Using the preserved details, okay, and I'm going to go, it was 18, wasn't it? 18 by 12. And it's going to do a nice job of resizing that. But the quality of it, this fit screen, is going to be, let's get that up so it's close. Oops, it's a little big. Got to be fair. There we go. They're about the same size. Here's the difference between the two. See how much softer this is? And see, we've got about the same here. We've got this 1 to 2 is about the same as this 5 to 6 on size. And we just lost a lot of stuff trying to resize a web image to 18 inches. Now, we can do a lot of playing with this and trying to bring that stuff back. There's no getting this detail of the canvas and the subtleties in the image. It's just not, it's because it's just not there. You'd see the strokes and how the ink went, or yeah, I did this with acrylic ink, how the ink went into the canvas. That just now it just looks like a watercolor rather than something that's on canvas. So that's that's what I wanted to talk about today, is preparing your images. Now I have never turned anyone down who wanted me to resize an image for them, ever. I suppose if you get ambitious and try to give me, way too many to resize, then I might put a halt to it. But if you've got an image that you feel like you don't know how it's going to resize, you can send it to me. Or if it's uploaded on your, if you're uploaded on your account on Art Print Express, feel free to send me a copy of that. Let me know which one it is. They have titles on them or file names on them, and I can look them up on the back end and pull them down and take a look at them. This is going to be, that's one of the things about working with someone who, I don't have an extensive crew here. So it's important for me for you to get the images that you want, like you want them. So the best thing is to be aware that the web images, sorry, there's nothing I can do about that. And grabbing them from your screenshot, or the thing is, my site will allow you to do 72 DPI because it will enlarge them pretty well when I get over on this end. If the image has, a 3 to 6 megabytes instead of 1, let's see, that one, the 1600 wasn't even a megabyte, 1600 kilobytes. It does okay, but it's not great. And my intent and purpose is to give you great prints. But if you're sending me images, that's the crux of how it works. Yeah, I've had people, scan little pieces like this and then want them, great big like that, and the scanner only did, 150 pixels. If it's sharp, maybe. But once the data's gone, once they've uploaded it, the data's gone. There's no coming back and fixing that data. So there you go. So that's what it's about, preparing your images for the web. And I really hope you found this informative. And if you did, please share it with somebody else who might find this interesting. And I guess we'll see you later.